For the 50th anniversary of hip hop, I want to give some love to the big boys, the big fellas who the ladies love and the dudes respected. So let's start from the beginning. The Fat Boys. There would be no Biggie Smalls without the Fat Boys. The first time I heard the Fat Boys, it was a song called The Fat Boys, and the Fat Boys was discovered by Curtis Blow, I believe. But my favorite song off their debut album, which was really good, that first Fat Boys album was a classic, was Jailhouse Rap. Jailhouse Rap used to be one of my favorite songs that he listened to on the radio. I used to love to listen to the long version because it was so musical. The Fat Boys actually were really good. Prince Marky D and Kurosky were really talented rappers, right? Yeah, they were fun rappers, but they were really talented. And Buffy as the beatbox was just an exciting element because you had Dougie Fresh beatboxing and you had Buffy. And listen, I love them both. Like Dougie, as they say, was the greatest entertainer, but Buffy was just a fun beatboxer. But yeah, Jailhouse Rap was one of my favorites. The second album, The Fat Boys Are Back, was great. I mentioned before in another video how charismatic they were in Crush Groove, and then they opened the door for a lot of it. Wouldn't be no Will Smith in movies or even TV if it wasn't for the Fat Boys, because they made horrible films. But the fact that Hollywood was putting them in these films said, like, hey, there's something to this hip hop stuff. Maybe we should do this. And also, the Fat Boys don't get enough credit for opening the door for hip hop, right? I was not a fan of the songs with the Beach Boys that they did. I wasn't a fan of the Twist song that he did with Chubby Checker. But before Run DMC and Aerosmith, those guys opened that door on pop music a little bit more. So Walk This Way might not have happened if it wasn't for the Fat Boys working with Chubby Checker and working with the Beach Boys, even though I didn't like those songs because they weren't as good as their older songs. But the Fat Boys were very instrumental of crossing hip hop over. Second, the Hipster, as you see in the picture, Heavy D and the boys. When they came out with Mr. Big Stuff, they were signed to Uptown Records, and they had those Coca-Cola shirts on, and I tried to get my mom to help me find those Coca-Cola shirts. I couldn't find them. Could not find those Coca-Cola shirts. But that first album, they do not get credit. Heavy D and the boys did not get credit for that first album, Living Large. Mr. Big Stuff. Girls, They Love Me. There was some other tracks on there too. I can't remember right now. But it was a solid debut album. And then they made Big Time. Big Time, to me, Heavy D working with Eddie F, his DJ, and Teddy Riley. Big Time, to me, is as perfect as a hip-hop album that was ever made from start to finish. These kids today talk about no skips. They think there's no skips of the stuff they like. Big Time, there was literally no skip. What song could you skip off that album? I'm daring you. If you work out, get Big Time. Listen to it. Stream it. Stream the whole album, man. Lyrically, it's fun. Musically, it's fun. I mean, it was when New Jack Swing really started to kick in. An amazing hip hop album. Just amazing. I love Big Time. And then Heavy D became a little bit inconsistent after Trouble T. Roy died. Still great songs. Don't Curse is like one of the greatest posse tracks ever where nobody cursed. They had Blue Funk, like Got Me Waiting. Like Heavy D and the boys made great songs after T. Roy died. It's just the consistency wasn't there. And then Hester became an actor. And it was so sad. Like Heavy D was on the cusp of doing great things, even behind the scenes with Uptown. Like people always go to Andre Harrell owns Uptown and Puffy ran things, but really Heavy was an integral part of Uptown's finding acts, locating acts, being a business mind. Even after Puffy left Uptown, Heavy was still there doing behind the business dealing. So Heavy D does not get enough love for being an impactful, not just rapper, but just a businessman in hip hop. Next, we have Biggie Smalls. Biggie, no, you know what? Before we get to Biggie, let's go to Chubb Rock. Chubb Rock came next. The Chubbster, to me, is like the Paul Robeson of hip hop. I love hearing him speak. When you listen to Chubb Rock talk, it felt like you was listening to a college professor. He was so regal. Now, he didn't have as many hits as the Fat Boys or as many hits as Heavy D, but he had impactful hits. The Chubbster, Just the Two of Us. I love Just the Two of Us. I love that song. I love that video. That whole vibe of that video. Black, just college, pretty girls, a Jamaican sound. Someone has like steel drums on that song. Amazing. Treat 'Em Right. in a lot of ways, Chubb Rock Pie has made more money off Treat 'em Right these past few years because of TikTok than he probably did in the 90s because the kids and the folks just use that song so much to make their videos. So the Chubsters probably made a lot of money these past few years off of TikTok. And Chubster might have been a ghostwriter for people. I don't know. If you're a hip hop historian, let me know if the Chubster was a ghostwriter. And I can see why. Like lyrically, of all the rappers, as much as I love Heavy D, the Chubster's lyrical pen was like simply amazing. But again, I love this dude so much. You just felt better as a person after you heard him speak. Now began the Biggie Smalls. Biggie combined everything, right? He had the wittiness of the Fat Boys. He had the smoothness and the sexiness that Heavy D brought in for the big men. Let me go back for a second. When Heavy D first came out, he brought a sexiness to big men because the Fat Boys were so comical, they weren't seen as sexy, right? But Heavy said, "No, I'm a big brother, but I'm smooth too." So Biggie brought that in as well. He made it even sexier than the hipster. So he brought that in, and lyrically, he was just like Chubb Rock. He was a lot wilder than Chubb in his lyrics, but the way he turned a phrase. One of my favorite phrases of his was in the Flavor of Your Ear remix. And he said, "Don't be mad, UPS is hiring." Amazing. I remember the first time I heard "Who Shot You," and I didn't care about what the song was about and not about. It's just the musicality and his flow was amazing. I had to keep on playing that song over and over again because it was so good. It's tragic that he died. He shouldn't have died. The fact that this dude, people always talk about different artists having their lines, the lyrics as college courses. He's one of those guys. Yeah, some of his lines were kind of brutal, but the way he turned a phrase, he was a genius of combining wits, making you think, shocking you. Notorious B.I.G. is a far more is a far more lyrical, impactful artist that we can even imagine. And his loss, it makes you wonder if he had lived, would it have been him or Jay-Z as the King of New York? I don't know. Big always had that charisma. He had more charisma than Jay. Jay's cool, but Big had that thing. And the last guy I want to talk about is Big Pun. Big Pun had next after Biggie. He was like a Latino Biggie. Same thing of turning a phrase. Like, Fat Joe was in that too, because Fat Joe was there before Pun. But Joe will always tell you, like, Pun's a better rapper than me. And it's true. The lasting legacy of Big Pun will always be "I'm Not a Player," the remix with Joe. You could put that song today. It'll have the same impact it did back in the late 90s. Still Not a Player, the remix will always be one of those songs, just like Janae and Hey Mr. DJ, that you put on at any party, anywhere, and people will always dance. Unfortunately for Big Pun, he only had one really, really good album, and he passed away. And that's why it's very important for everybody to pay attention to your health. And I think he was trying to at the time, but it was just too late. But Big Pun, lyrically, he's probably, of all the big men, lyrically, he's probably the closest to Big. But all these guys were great. All these guys had impact. So I want to give a shout out to all the big boys in hip hop. There's been some since, but not as impactful as those guys: Fat Boys, Heavy D, Chubb Rock, Notorious B.I.G., and Big Pun. In your comments below, who is your favorite big rapper, heavy rapper? And if there's a guy or gal that I missed, please let me know.